Just 2 weeks earlier, Ethan Gray had transferred to Maplewood High, a prestigious Canadian school known for its academic excellence and quiet elitism. He came from a reservation 2 hours north, where life was hard but honest. His mother worked double shifts as a nurse. His father, gone since he was 6. From the first day, the whispers began. Did you hear where he's from? Look at his shoes. Why does he talk like that? Ethan kept his head down. He was there to learn, not to fight. But the bullying didn't stop. The leader of it all was Tyler Brooks, the principal's son. Tyler's family owned half the town. His father was on the school board. He thought he could do anything. In gym class, Tyler accidentally tripped Ethan, spilling his bag. Out rolled a tattered notebook and a few coins. Tyler smirked. You saving up for new words, Chief? Laughter echoed. Ethan froze. He wanted to disappear. But that night, while doing his homework under a flickering lamp, he looked at his little sister's photo, the same one he later showed on stage. She was only 8. Sick. The kind of sickness that required money they didn't have. That's when Ethan made himself a promise. If they want to laugh, let them. I'll give them a reason to remember me. When the principal announced an Inclusion and Diversity assembly for the following week, Ethan hesitated. Students were encouraged to volunteer and share their thoughts. He almost didn't sign up. But then, the next day in class, Tyler mocked him again, this time recording it on his phone for Snapchat. Ethan clenched his fists. Something inside him snapped. He went home that night and began writing. Page after page, everything he'd seen, everything he'd lived through. His sister's fight for treatment. The prejudice he faced daily. The strength it took to just show up. When he finished, he looked at the paper and whispered. They'll hear me this time. The day of the assembly came. The auditorium was packed. Tyler and his friends sat in the front row, smirking. When Ethan's name was called, a few students groaned. He stepped up to the microphone, and his first words made everyone stop breathing. Before you laugh again, just know, this might be the last time I ever speak in this school. Gasps filled the room. Teachers exchanged nervous looks. Even Tyler's grin vanished. And then, Ethan reached into his pocket and pulled out the photo. Ethan's hands trembled as he held up the small, crumpled photo. It was of a smiling little girl with long black hair and bright brown eyes. This is my sister, Maya, he said softly into the microphone. She's 8 years old. She can't walk anymore because of a disease that eats at her muscles. Every night, I work to help pay for her treatment. That's why my shoes are old. That's why I look tired in class. That's why I don't care about your laughter. A hush fell over the entire gym. Even Tyler shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Ethan continued, his voice growing stronger. You see, where I come from, we don't have much. But we share everything we do have. We respect people, no matter who they are. And I thought, coming here, this school would be the same. He paused. But I was wrong. The night before the speech, Ethan almost didn't show up. He sat at his desk, staring at his speech, tears blurring his words. He thought about quitting, about dropping out. But then his mom walked in. Her eyes tired but kind. Ethan, she said, placing a hand on his shoulder, remember what Grandpa used to say. The truth has its own way of finding light. Those words echoed in his mind now as he looked out at hundreds of silent faces. Ethan's voice steadied. Every night after school, I mop floors at the diner near the highway. I save every dollar I can. Not for me. For her. He placed the photo on the podium. Last week, my mom told me Maya might get accepted into a treatment program, if we can raise enough money. That's what I've been fighting for. He turned to face Tyler directly. So, Tyler, when you tripped me in the hallway and laughed because a few coins rolled out of my pocket, those weren't just coins. That was hope. That was the sound of someone trying to save his sister. The crowd gasped. Tyler's face went pale. The principal, Mrs. Harris, who had ignored Ethan's earlier complaints, slowly stood up, tears streaming down her face. She took the microphone, her voice breaking. "Ethan. I'm sorry. I failed you." She turned to the entire school. "Let this be a lesson to all of us. We judged him before we even listened. We laughed before we even understood. But today, this young man taught us what courage really looks like." The entire auditorium stood. Applause filled the room, slow at first, then thunderous. Even Tyler clapped, eyes wet with shame. After the assembly, the principal called Ethan into her office. There, she handed him an envelope. Inside was a check, signed by the school's parent council and local sponsors. "For Maya," she said softly. "We're covering the rest of her treatment costs." Ethan froze. He tried to speak, but tears came first. Mrs. Harris smiled. "You reminded us that kindness is the highest form of strength." That day, Ethan walked home quietly. For the first time since he'd arrived, no one whispered behind his back. No one laughed. As he passed the hallway bulletin board, he noticed something new. A poster titled, "Inclusion Starts Here," with his photo on it. At the bottom, in bold letters, it read, "Never judge someone until you've heard their story." That evening, Ethan called home. When his mom answered, he whispered, "Mom, they're going to help Maya." On the other end of the line, he heard his mother crying softly, and then, a small, weak voice say, "Ethan. I knew you could do it." The camera would fade out on Ethan smiling through his tears, holding the phone to his ear. Finally proud. Finally seen.